Hi everybody and welcome to Indigo Sky Holistic. I'm Davina, an intuitive holistic therapist and energy healer, and I'm just introducing today a new feature that I am creating for my YouTube channel, my website and my audience. And I thought I would just do a little intro about how I was inspired to do this earlier on today after I'd meditated and done a little bit of journaling about something that's been coming up for me a lot this week, and its roots and its where its foundation is. And it got me thinking, wow, I could actually provide something for my audience, for people I know as well, who, because it's quite a unique thing, I feel like there's a need for what I'm offering, not without its challenges, which I will get to. So on my YouTube channel, you will find a video, which I'm going to link here, about my past, my history in a religious Christian fundamental organization. To anyone who doesn't know, I was born and raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, which is a Christian religion. They don't like to consider themselves a cult, and if you go watch that video, it will explain a little bit about my standing out of it, what it actually means for me to come here and present videos like the series I want to create, the challenges that is for me. But the reason why I'm creating this series of videos is because as a holistic practitioner, one of my primary tools I use for supporting clients that I've used for myself is emotional freedom technique, or EFT tapping as it's often called. And you can find lots of content on my website around EFT and around emotional health and wellness, and why the emotions are a massive part of our wellness, our well-being, our health. I talked on other videos on my channel about why I feel like emotional health is one of the foundational parts of our well-being that we maybe don't give a lot of attention to. It's maybe not really considered the deep need in mainstream medicine or modern medicine or whatever you want to call it. But for me, the emotional impact of my journey has been the key to improving a lot of physical things, but also the mental programming, the subconscious programming, and my mental health journey through supporting my emotions and traumas and how they were impacting literally my whole life as well. So I have decided to create a series of EFT videos for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. So there's a lot about being raised in a fundamentalist Christian religion in general. There's a lot of nuances to various fundamental Christian religions or fundamentalist religions in general. Jehovah's Witnesses have their own unique traits and their own unique programmings and their own unique beliefs that are different to a lot of Christian beliefs, and the indoctrination and the dogmatic brainwashing that comes from being raised that way is quite unique to those who've left, because there's a lot of deep conditioning, there's a lot of trauma caused. A lot of people who leave, if not everybody who leaves, is actually then under complex PTSD, which, just to understand a little bit of the difference in PTSD, is when people know they've got a traumatic incident that has been part of their life and also had a way of getting out of it. complex PTSD, the slight difference with complex PTSD is usually people aren't aware, they've been traumatized, and they had no safe place to go to get away from it. And so the reason why most ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, if not all of them, have an element of complex PTSD going on is because, first of all, we didn't realize we were being traumatized while we were being indoctrinated, while we're part of that religion. A lot of us, myself included, while I was in that organization, was quite happy generally. I enjoyed being in. I still believe I got a lot of good out. I'm going to make another video actually about all the benefits that I have gleaned from having been raised with organization, with public speaking abilities. I'm here talking on video because of the public speaking teaching that I got. I might have even mentioned it on a previous video quite recently as well. They don't realize, most people who have been in that religion or other fundamentalist religions don't realize that they're being controlled, manipulated, told what to believe, how to believe. The reason why it does actually fit under the cult umbrella is because getting out is actually quite challenging. Not in the same way that you might not be able to leave some other religions, of which, you know, there are many that leaving can be on pain of death. It's not quite that. Although pinning that one, because that brings us to some of what has been going on for me recently. There's being raised with this belief that if you don't conform to what they teach, you will be destroyed, you will be killed, God actually hates you and will destroy you, is actually quite a serious mind manipulation and quite a serious trauma, abuse situation to be in. To be told that you will be killed if you don't believe this, or if you leave this, and you'll not just be killed by a human, but you're going to be killed by God. Like, that's actually pretty traumatic to be told and to grow up with. And we're talking, this is something that if you are born in, you are being told from day one. You grow up believing it. I grew up as a young girl, this is what I was told, on top of being physically punished for my slightly wild, out of control Taurian behavior. I was not an easy to control little girl. I had big energy. I was quite boisterous. I was quite over the top in how I could behave. And my mum was an older mum. She was 40 when she had me. So she was going through her own life changes by the time I was like 8 or 9 that were quite challenging for her to go through whilst dealing with quite a willful young girl. So that's sort of like hanging over your head from a very young age. If you don't comply, if you ever fall short, if you ever do anything wrong, if you do something that is like frowned upon or breaks God's rules or the Bible's rules and commands, then you will know you're going to die. And because it's programmed into you, because it's repetitively given to you and told you, you're literally being programmed, being brainwashed, being hypnotized, told this over and over again. So when you leave with this in your subconscious mind. You're literally programmed to think this deep in the subconscious mind. And for those who are born in particularly, since most programmings and conditionings that we all hold as humans on the planet at this time occur, those programmings, those conditionings occur in the first 7 years of life. Some will even say in the first 3 years of life, before you're even consciously aware of what is being said to you, then that is being carried with you, even if you are not aware of it, even if you are not, even if you break free consciously from it. So I was like, I left at 28, 29. I was aware of differences between what I felt the Bible was saying and what they were teaching, quite even for a few years before that. And I'd had some interesting realizations before that, from like my late teens and early 20s, around potential twistings of the Bible generally that I didn't think were quite how any Christian religion was portraying it. Very interesting. You want to go down that rabbit hole? There's a whole lot of stuff you can go down the rabbit hole of how the Bible has been manipulated and twisted and rewritten to promote a certain element of Christianity that's not quite correct. But I'm not like, I would never criticize somebody who has a genuine faith in a higher power that is unconditionally loving and based on unconditional love for themselves, for that being, or anything like that. My criticism is with the humans who then manipulate and make our whole energetic, amazing, superhuman beingness seem to be wrong, or seem to be small and insignificant, when we're actually spirit beings in human form, navigating the crazy 3-dimensional, 4-dimensional, whatever you want to call it, planet that we live on right now. And being raised in fundamentalist Christianity, being raised in a cult environment and not realizing it, is back to the complex PTSD thing. There's no way out that you know of, because you're told if you leave, you'll be rejected by everybody, by the people that you know, the people you've grown up with. You'll be rejected by your family, you'll be rejected by God, and ultimately killed. And that's pretty powerful. So because there's no way out, that's why it turns into complex PTSD, because you don't think there's a way out. Even if you then begin to doubt, a lot of people stay in when they like realizing something's wrong, because, well, God will sort it out and it's in God's hands. And doing that, not because they truly believe and have faith that some higher power will establish like peace and harmony within humanity and the earth as a whole, but that religion is the only religion, and you literally, if you leave it, you're doomed. And it's like such a headfuck. I was gonna try and not actually use that word, but there isn't really another word to describe it. So yeah, that unique manipulation and mind control that comes up for people when people do leave, they're carrying it with them in their subconscious. And even like for myself, been left, I'm nearly 20 years. It was only in 2020 where I realized the depths of the mental programming, and was able to finally, through my own journey, through meditation and learning and exploring that I was able to realize that I could become mentally free completely and not be under this umbrella of dogma and stigmatism and like fear of rejection. And 2020 was a little bit crazy, generally speaking, for most of the planet. And that was like its own, headfuck. That was quite an interesting time. And so it taking that long to be able to actually know that I was truly mentally free. Lots of people, to all intents and purposes, believe they're mentally free, but that subconscious patterning is still there. That subconscious programming is still there. It is for lots of people in lots of different environments, school, just general upbringing and raising, other just dogmatic approaches, the number of children who have been in high disciplinarian homes where physical punishment has occurred, where restrictions, removing of love if you don't behave and perform a certain way, if you aren't if you don't conform to the family's idea of what is correct behavior, then you'll be rejected. There's lots of people who have different ideas, different beliefs, different desires and choices in their life on like a general level, who feel like they'll be rejected by their family if they speak that way. So this is still prevalent in the LGBTQ community. It is prevalent in places in like spiritual circles where people decide like, wow, I want to like learn more about witchcraft, or I want to learn more about astrology. I want to learn more about a lot of those things. They fall under this umbrella of you'll be rejected if you start to talk about that. That's an ancestral wound as well, a witch wound. For people who come out as gay, there is still a big stigma around that, and still lots of people who are afraid to tell family of that because they'll be rejected. And these people who fit in all these categories will benefit from the range of EFT videos that I'm going to create. However, the primary focus of these will be some of the unique beliefs and patterns and programmings that occur for Jehovah's Witnesses. So some of the things that I'm going to do some tapping around are being rejected by family. So obviously if you're being rejected by family for a range of other reasons, you could still do the tapping. If you watch any of my videos on EFT, you can learn how to tailor your particular tapping vocalization, what you say when you tap along with your situation. But one of the things that I want this specifically to be is how we feel when we're raised as Jehovah's Witnesses, when we choose to leave, like how we feel inside. So for me, in the last week, the core belief of my whole life has come to the forefront. And this isn't just relatable to being raised in Christianity, being raised in religion, being raised fundamentalist, being raised that way, but also just being raised generally in a strict household. I'm sure there's lots of people who relate to this particular like core belief that has been rooted in myself. So whilst I've mentally been free from the conditioning of Jehovah's Witnesses for 4.5 years, this core belief actually came from some of how I was raised. That aside, which maybe was more prevalent because I was being raised to be a good little Jehovah's Witness girl, but also the time that I was born in the late 70s, being raised to be a good little girl, generally, how normalized physical punishment was. Like, generally speaking, getting a good hiding for misbehavior was quite normal. Some places it still is, in some cultures it still is, in some parts of some countries it still is, even though it's not acceptable in other parts. The conditioning of that, even whilst being free of the dogmatic religious conditioning that I'd experienced, the core belief that I was not good enough has been pervasive in my whole life. So my belief was I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to be a healer. I'm not good enough to be a therapist. I'm not good enough to be a mentor. I'm not good enough to run a business. I'm not good enough to make an income. I'm not good enough to be successful. I'm a bad little girl who's not educated enough, which was a root conditioning from being raised in a religion that doesn't value higher education. That I was never well behaved enough. I was too boisterous, too loud, too much, too big, too powerful. All of those things. Deconditioning from the religion, this core belief has still been imprinted and embedded in me. And the course of the last few days, maybe through the course of July so far, I have been digging that out, diving into it, picking it apart, feeling pretty crap about it, going, what the hell? And realizing that underlying belief was worsened by being raised in this religious environment as well. And it made me think, like, I am not alone in this conditioning. I'm not alone as an ex-Jehovah's Witness with this conditioning. I know that lots of the patterns that I've had around money, around education, around creating a business, not to mention what my business is rooted in, which is all of the things that I was told came from the devil when I was growing up. Energy healing, astrology, spirit, mediumship, multidimensionality, all of that. Unless you were getting a direct line with God, which only the powers that be within the organization have, and even they're even not sure about that. It's clearly they are not receiving from God. And the fact that my dad is still an active Jehovah's Witness, I have had to deeply lean into deconditioning that whilst I've known for a long time that I did not allow the devil to come in when I started to meditate, that astrology is not a dark force or a dark spirit, that when I connect into life force energy to do energy healing, that I am not letting the devil in my brain, that when I channel or when I am open to multidimensional beings, that I am not being co-opted by demonic forces. And that's not to say that there's not dark and light out there, that there's not service to self beings out there that may be corrupting certain teachers and leaders and practices out there. But learning to know yourself, learning to trust yourself, discerning, I mean, it all goes with it. And of course, most people, generally speaking, not like all religion aside, are brought up to distrust themselves. That's like society is almost grounded in not trusting yourself to govern yourself, to educate yourself, to even choose what to eat or how to manage your land or how to create a business, create a livelihood. Like there's a lot of society foundation built on those things. So adding into this mix being destroyed by God if you don't add here is quite a tricky one. It's definitely something that is catching a lot of people stuck in their hatred for the organization, the Jehovah's Witnesses, Christianity, for God, for source creative energy, which is literally who we are in ourselves, because that is the energy that animates us. It is the cosmos, it is the planet itself, it is the food we eat, it is the water we drink, it is everybody else that we interact with as well. If we've then, because we've been conditioned and we then leave, whether it's Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormonism or Scientology or some other non-Christian religion, then it can be like that projection of hatred, or that projection of anger, or that projection of contempt, resentment, is all then just being also internalized and given out to people that we don't mean to give it out to, just because it's an energy that is an interchange of energy between everybody that we meet, because we're all part of that source creation, which is then referred to as God. Bit out there, but bear with me. So I want to make this lovely series of EFT videos. It may reach a limit at one point. At some point, I may feel like I have tapped out on everything that comes up, but I'm also going to be asking anyone who comes to this video who is an ex-Jehovah's Witness, what have been your core beliefs that you have struggled with the most? What have you felt has held you back in creating success in your life, or feeling like your life is joyful, successful, peaceful? What held you back from calm and living the life of your wildest dreams, the life that we were brought up to believe you would have in paradise one day? What has held you back from that? Some of the things I will definitely be tapping on are being rejected by family, fear of being destroyed by God, believing that one isn't good enough or not worthy enough, fear of the devil. Definitely, I've got a list, but it's on my phone, which I'm currently recording on. So yeah, those the ones that I know I'm definitely tapping on will be those. And EFT is quite a gentle approach to releasing and moving some of these things. Now, I do have like an extensively growing library of EFT videos on my website. I have some free ones on my YouTube channel, on my website, and in group sessions that you can join me for. My group sessions are only £11 for a 2-hour group session. You can just gain access to the content on my website for a one-off payment as well. However, one of the big factors that many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses struggle with is money, and first of all, that self-worth, valuing ourselves, that we deserve maybe a larger outlay on therapy and support to release our past complex PTSD. Generally speaking, there's a lot of other people in the world who feel like they don't have the money to pay a therapist as well. It's also not valued by a lot of society that it's important that people get to the roots of their underlying traumas to support themselves out of it. And whilst I need to feed my family and make a living to be able to have somewhere to live and have what I need to thrive and not just barely make it through, I also know that there will be a lot of people who will benefit from more like free at point of service, free at receiving content, and I thought this was something that I can give back to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses to support them. There will always be an option to come and work with me one-to-one. There's, as I said, multi-levels of people to come and work with me one-to-one as they work through things, but wanting to give this to the community, ex-Jehovah's Witness community, which is ever growing. And one of the things that many of us are initially afraid to do is speak about having been raised one because of fear of being rejected. I mean, me sitting here, putting this video, recording this video, which I know I'm putting on YouTube, whilst knowing that there's a part of, if my dad gets to hear about it, if my dad ever saw it, fortunately, he's 88 and doesn't use YouTube, but he does have friends who do. And this has been one of my big fears for since I became a holistic therapist, really. But since I started speaking about it, was how my dad would react to hearing me talk about the religion in this way. And my video that I linked to earlier, my leaving Jehovah's Witnesses video, I categorically stated that if anybody did ever tell him, then their malice for doing so will return to them. Their whatever it is that makes them think that they're in any way doing my father a service or myself a service by telling him will return back to them, that it would not be beneficial for his health. It would rob him of his biological daughter. It would potentially do way more harm than good. And this is, again, a warning to anybody who does choose to speak to my father about any of the content that I create, that it will return back to you, that you are trying to cause this disruption, pain, hurt to humans, to people. And yeah, that is not a Christian thing to do. It is not a loving thing to do. It is not supportive and beneficial. And I think it's time that I got over my fear of that. I've had some open, frank discussions with my dad about my never returning, about my beliefs or my knowings that there are aspects of that religion that I do not support, cannot support, would not support, and therefore never want to be affiliated with them. And yeah, I think, you know, if you are watching this and you are a Jehovah's Witness, then do your research. Again, one of the reasons why it's a cult is because it tells you not to research outside of their literature and outside of the information they provide for you. That's how a cult works. If you are confident and trusting in your beliefs and that you are being provided with the all-out truth, then you would have no issue with reading books like Crisis of Conscience by Raymond Franz. There will be no reason to doubt and view the Royal Australian Commission for Child Abuse Cases in Australia, because you would know that that's not the case. However, it is, and that is true. And so is the fact that astrology is not from Satan, and energy healing is not from Satan, and all of that stuff. Witchcraft is naturecraft, which was a whole load of people out there that think witchcraft is a terrible, terrible thing. But witchcraft is literally being in tune with and understanding how nature works and how nature has everything provided in it to help with healing, supporting life, providing everything that we need, and to actually state that witchcraft is anything other than a positive, beneficial, nurturing thing is literally denying God's existence, because God created it all. If you believe in God as like a being, an all-powerful being, he created the nature, which creates the healing potions, which creates the energetic support that brings a range of benefits to people and food. Yeah, and most people who believe in God don't want to deny his existence. So yeah, lots and lots and lots of stuff here. That's a big roundabout way of saying new content coming soon. Probably going to make one EFT video a week until I exhaust all possibilities on specifically for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. So the language I use will be based on their teachings, their beliefs, their indoctrination, the conditioning that we have and experience. That doesn't mean it can't be tailored to another religion, for sure. Anywhere where I just say Jehovah's Witnesses, you can just say your religion that you're escaping from. There will be content that will be supportive of other life experiences, maybe conditioning from school, maybe conditioning from various other secular authority ways of being brought up and conditioned, strict schooling ideas. Maybe you went to school where physical punishment, it was the norm, and there is trauma and experience there. But yeah, there is other not associated with Jehovah's Witness videos, EFT videos on my channel. So there's a separate playlist for those EFT videos. This will be in a playlist for ex-Jehovah's Witness EFT videos. And yeah, we will see where it goes. If you, like I said, are an ex-Jehovah's Witness and would like to see specific EFT for your situation, drop in the comments what you'd like to see some EFT on. If you want to know more about EFT, go watch the EFT video. Thank you for watching. If you have anything interesting about this that you would like to learn more about or would like me to speak more on, if you've enjoyed this video and want to catch the EFT, ex-Jehovah's Witness EFT videos when they start to go, please do like, comment, subscribe, do all those things that YouTube likes you to do. Subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification so that you can get notified when I'm dropping those EFT videos and any other videos. I will be speaking a little bit more specifically in some other content about some of this deconditioning around not being good enough and not being adequate enough. I have a very special EFT video that I'm planning to make that again will be free on releasing government financial support, because that is something that I've been doing during this year as financial government benefits change here in the UK. And it's been like, yeah, it's been a journey to actually choose to let that go, even before my income reached a level where it was, where I actually truly felt it was replaced and I was safe. But yeah, so if you are in receipt of social security or government state benefits of any sort in any country, then I have a very special EFT video I will be making at some point in the very near future on that too. Oh, it's all fresh for me. So do subscribe and I'd love to know if you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness, what your thoughts are, how you feel. How does hearing me talk about some of this stuff make you feel? Because that's all going to be great content that I can drop in some EFT videos as well. Thank you for watching. Sending you so much love, and know that there is always a way out of whatever it is that you feel is so challenging that you can't see it or way out now. There is always a living way out. And I'll see you all again very soon.